Hello everyone, hope you guys are having a good time hanging out in this process that we're going through. Today we have a treat for you. Today we're making some pizza. I figured that you guys were missing out on the delicious pizza pasta station that we usually have here at the village. So today we figured we'll get you guys a build your own kit. So today the ingredients that I have in front of me, to make the pizza dough we have flour, oil, salt, garlic, Italian herbs, yeast, sugar. We've got the mozzarella cheese, marinara, just a little bit of parm and parsley, pepperonis. Over here we've got a little bit of semolina for when we go to make the pizza, and some water. It's the key ingredient. Back behind me, we have the pizza oven heating up. We're gonna try to get that up to about 500 degrees, maybe a little bit higher, just so when we put the pie in there, it gets a nice crust on the bottom for cooking. So, while that's heating up, we'll start making our dough. First I'm gonna do is add the water. You want to make sure that the water is warm so it helps activate the yeast. We'll add the yeast in there. I'll usually mix it up just a little bit to make sure that it's all getting activated. So while we got this going, just kind of let that activate with the yeast. Normally you can have eggs in this. It just makes the density of the dough a little bit more dense. So after we let this activate for about 15 to 20 minutes usually, we're going to express that right now. That's when you're going to add the rest of your ingredients. So I'm going to add my sugar, to give the dough a nice little sweetness, some salt, the herbs, the garlic, and the oil. And last, the flour. So I don't make a mess. Ooh. Okay, so now we're going to let this go. Mix. Alright, so now that we've let this mix for probably a good 5 to 10 minutes, and you're going to want to make it to get to where it's sticking pretty well together and not to the side of the bowl. When you have a clean bowl, it means you have pretty good dough. So we're going to slide that off. And while you're able to play with it a little bit, you're going to see that it kind of stays together. It should be slightly sticky, not too sticky. And it should kind of have some fall of its own. So if I'm holding it, it's going to continue to kind of drop on its own. Not too fast, because then it's going to be really loose and you're going to break holes into it. So you want it to have a little bit of play to it. Now normally what we'll do is we'll ball it up. And when we ball it up, we want to get all the air pockets out of it. Because after we just got done whipping it up, it's going to have some air pockets in it. When you have the air pockets and you go to bake it, it's going to expand inside of it and then have nice big holes in the pizza. So when you see any of those at pizza restaurants, it's because it didn't get all the air pockets out. So all we're doing is balling it up, squeezing it together to get all the air pockets out. Okay, then you're going to have a nice little dough ball, just like that. All right. So now So now I'm gonna get a nice little area to kind of work with the dough and make it a pie. When I do this, I'm going to add some flour just so it's not so sticky. Like I said, it's going to have a little bit of water on there. It should have a little bit of stick. You should be able to hear with the gloves. A little bit of semolina for texture and to make sure it doesn't stick. And then I'm going to start working the dough. This is where you can get the show out of it. I don't want to hit the roof though. And you'll see some pizza places, you know, they'll sit there and twirl it up in the air. I don't want any bloopers for this. So, as you can see, you're able to work with the dough pretty well. You can kind of pull on it, tug on it. You want to make sure that it's nice and thin around the edges. And this is when you're just going to come around. And I'm going to take my hands and I'm just going to kind of pull the dough apart as I kind of rotate it so it's not pulled in one spot and you're going to have a square pizza. You want to have a nice round pizza. So I'm just going to continue to go around, pull the dough. As you can see, as I'm pulling it, I have a round pizza. I'm going to work on the edges to make sure they're flat. Now sometimes, what a lot of people do, so grab a rolling pin and roll it out. So that way they don't have to worry about falling holes in the pizza crust, anything like that. It's a little bit easier to work with. So once you have your round pizza dough, next step is to build it. I usually like to put mine on the paddle first, just so in the transition into the oven, you don't have to worry about it catching or breaking or anything like that. So now that I got my pizza dough in the shape and size that I want it, I like to have mine a little bit thicker crust around the outside. I'm going to spread a nice little layer of marinara. Onto the dough. Okay. Now that I have that done, we're going to put a thin layer of the mozzarella on there. You don't want too much mozzarella on it because what the cheese does is it releases a fat. If there's too much fat, then you get a greasy pizza. But you want a thin layer so that way it evenly spreads when you cook it. Looks like I got this about the right amount of cheese. Okay, now that I got my cheese on there, add a little bit of Parmesan just for color, but the main reason is flavor. Big fan of Parmesan. And get our pepperonis. And again, when you have your pepperonis, you want to have the thin sliced ones, because if they're too thick, they're not going to cook all the way for one. But the second one is you'll get a lot more grease on them and you'll have a greasy pizza. Going through. I like to have a lot of pepperonis on mine. This is the point where you can add whatever you want on there. You can add your peppers, your onions, your olives or Some people are big into sardines, just never know. Now once we have that all ready to go, we're gonna put this into the oven. Again, it's not as hot as we normally like, but slide that pizza off of there. And we're gonna let the crust start to cook. All right, so after about 10-15 minutes of cooking, we're ready to pull this delicious pizza out of the oven. A nice little landing pad right there. Now, me personally, I really love to throw a little bit of garlic butter around the outside. Nice little brush. Give it that nice glossy, delicious look to it. I'll also go and maybe add a little bit of Parmesan or anything like that to it to give it a little bit more flavor. All right, now that our pizza is ready to be cut into and eaten, we've got a couple of different items here that we can use to cut them. Normally the household pizza cutter is always a good one. Knives work as well. And these bad boys are fun to play with. Not really, but it's for cutting the pizza. Makes it a lot more even. So we're just gonna cut it with that. Normally we get 8 slices out of a pie. Being from Chicago, I like mine nice big hearty pieces, but I also like to do deep dish as well, so there's that too. But now that we've got a nice pizza, bon appetit.